Welcome back to our series on Jewish thought. In this class, we'll continue what we started discussing in the previous class, and that is finding the criteria for the truth. In the previous class, we discussed the modern thought that there is one objective truth out there, and therefore we need to find the criteria to deciding what that truth is, how to recognize it. We saw the Rambam, who gave preference to the mind, the Rihal, who gave preference to experience, and the Maharal, who reminded us that even when we discuss experience, it's experience of the mind. That's experience that we see within our mind and not in some external objective world. Rather, a very subjective reality that happens in our consciousness. Today we're going to discuss how postmodern thinking started affecting Jewish theology. Postmodernism believes in narratives, meaning there is no objective truth, there is no one all-encompassing truth. Rather, every individual, every society possesses their narrative, their story, that through it they have a prism that helps them explain the world around them. And each of these narratives, each of these prisms are equally false, because or equally true, because they are creations created by societies to serve certain needs. They don't represent any objective truth. Now, while it's consensus amongst Jewish thinkers that Judaism obviously does not believe in that, the Judaism does believe in some objective truths, many Jewish theologies didn't have a problem with it. In other words, they said, yes, we are modern. Jewish thought is modern. They believe in an absolute truth. But the fact that everyone around us is postmodern, not necessarily such a bad thing, for a few reasons. First reason is people are less critical. When everyone was modern thinking, then the Christians had a problem with anybody not thinking Christian. And we had the Crusades. The Muslims still have a problem with everyone who is not Muslim. And that was true for every group that was sure they have the truth. Any society or religion that didn't believe in their truth was an enemy to the truth, to what justice is. And that causes war. That causes battle. It's a lot more convenient to live in a world where people don't believe in absolute truths, especially if you yourself believe in some absolute truth, because no one's going to be critical of you. Oh, you're doing your thing, you're Jewish, you do Judaism, go for it. Knock yourself out, have a great time. Doesn't bother me, because don't impose on my world. I don't have any need to impose my beliefs on your worldview, and I hope you won't impose it on mine as well. Another positive aspect of this thought is that it allows a lot more people to be open-minded. When people are thinking of objective truths, then they're much more critical thinkers. But when the view is that everyone's talking subjective and it's not an absolute truth, people are willing to be open-minded to hear other voices. Oh, so tell me more about this Judaism of yours. It's very interesting, because I am now asking this question behind the safe place of, well, it's all only a narrative, so I want to hear your narrative. And I may choose to adopt your narrative for convenience, not because I think it's the absolute truth, but rather for convenience reasons. So people in the past were a lot more fearful of hearing religious speakers or hearing other religions' opinions that didn't work with their perfect worldview. In a postmodern world, people are less wary. They're more willing to open because they don't see opposing opinions as threats to their beliefs. I can have a conversation, hear all about your beliefs and your convictions, and it will have no effect on mine. Now those are only advantages, but as I said, Judaism itself is modern, meaning it believes in an absolute truth. It therefore commands us many mitzvot are meant to install, to teach, to pass on, to spread these ideas. But that said, there is a takeoff on postmodernism that many like to call postmodernism. Postmodernism, or in its original form called klaliyut, encompassment, was presented by none other than the Rav Kook. The Rav Kook says, let's talk about this criteria for the truth. Let's examine how truth is found in the scientific world and see if we can apply that for Jewish thought, towards Jewish thought, or theology in general. If you were to ask Aristotle about science in his time, then everyone was sure that Aristotle's science, his knowledge of the celestial beings, how they move, the stars, his physics was the truth. Everyone was certain that was the absolute truth. It took a lot of work and hundreds of years until scientists such as Newton, laws of physics, replaced Aristotle's work. And then Newton's laws of physics became the truth. But then, few hundred years later, Einstein comes along and says, oh, Newton, you also didn't get it completely right, and brings new laws of physics. Theory of relativity. General relativity. These laws threw Newton away, and now we have more advanced laws of physics. But even Einstein's theories are not perfect yet, and are being improved on all the time with new, more advanced theories or scientific equations. The question that Rav Kook then poses, so was Newton wrong? Would it be correct to say that Aristotle was wrong and that Newton was wrong and what they said is worth nothing, and Einstein was wrong because he didn't get it 100%, therefore it's worth nothing? Of course not. Aristotle got it mostly right, or partly right. Newton got it mostly right, more than Aristotle. Einstein got it more than Newton. And today we're advancing and getting closer and closer to the scientific truth with each generation, each new scientific discovery. Instead of treating each stage as worthless, as nothing, as false, as a lie, Rav Kook said we should treat it as partly true. He had 10% of the truth. He had then enlarged it to 30% of the truth. And then later generation got to 60% of the truth. And we continue striving for a better understanding of the truth, building block upon block over the understandings of previous generations. Similarly, says the Rav Kook, when it comes to theology, does Judaism have the entire truth? Do we know the answer for every question? Rav Kook says, no, of course not. All we can say is that we have an answer which is the best possible answer today. But do we have the absolute truth? Rav Kook is humble enough to say no. Any question we're going to deal with in Judaism deals with in general, or that we're going to deal with in this class, no one possesses the truth. Rather, it's a conversation around the truth. Each person possessing a piece of the truth. And he adds that piece of the truth into the conversation. What one must do then is listen to the various opinions and try to encompass them all into one bigger truth that encompasses the various opinions. Now, this approach of the Rav Kook has ground-taking. It changes the paradigm in a few ways. First of all, the Rav Kook is admitting that I don't have the entire truth. That, except for being humble, it also allows you to have a truth that's not perfect. Many times people have a great answer for a question, or they believe in some big truth, but there's still something nagging that's not resolved yet. So they feel it's not 100% correct. The Rav Kook would say that's fine. So you're 90% there, or you're almost there. Hopefully this truth will be improved in time. Maybe tomorrow you find a better, more improved answer. And that will be your truth. So it's okay that not everything's perfect. Be happy in the meantime with the answer you have at hand, and be open-minded enough to later improve the answer when you hear something better. Which leads me to the second paradigm change, and that is the ability to hear other opinions. People that are sure they have the truth close up to hearing opposing opinions. Why should I hear what you have to say? I know the truth. I went to yeshiva. I heard a class on the Rambam. He got it right. No, says the Rav Kook. You have a truth. Hold on to it. In the meantime, hear what other people have to say. See if there's any truth in what they say, and try to encompass it into the idea you already have conceived. See if they can work together. Maybe create something new. And that new idea would be your truth. That's the second advantage. So we said, don't have to worry about faults. You can have conversation. And the most important advantage of this ikaron haklaliyut is how personal it is. That when we have a conversation and we're all talking about the different approaches, each person is encompassing the various parts of the truth in a different way, making the truth at one aspect objective ideas, but the encompassment, the creation, it becomes very personal. This allows people to hold on, to have an answer they actually believe in on a more personal level. Instead of feeling I have to choose to believe what the Rambam said because he's the Rambam, here I can say, well, my beliefs are 70% Rambam, 20% Maharal Prague, and some paragraph I read in the Rav Kook. Together they created some answer that I think it's my answer for the meantime. So, if we want to summarize the effects of postmodern thinking on Judaism, we said, on the one hand, it's easier to be a Jew in a postmodern world. People attack you less, they're more open-minded to hear what you have to say, and they allow you to live your life more or less. It prevents wars. It's a great thing. However, Judaism in itself is not postmodern. It does believe in absolute truth. That said, the Rav Kook teaches us that even though we believe in absolute truth, the way of achieving that truth is a process that takes time. We currently do not hold the absolute objective truth to every question. We have the best possible answers. That's why we're Jewish. We believe that we're the best possible answers. But we're always looking to enlarge our understanding, enrich our understanding, grow to become and to get a greater truth. And we do that through conversation with other rabbis, other opinions, even other religions. Rav Kook's not afraid of that, because he believes that by trying to encompass all the various truths, we're able to achieve our personal, on one hand personal, but yet on the other hand objective truth that is our answer. So B'ezrat Hashem will try to deal with some of the questions accordingly to this guideline of the Rav Kook, which is conversation on the topics. Thank you very much. רציתי להגיד פשוט בסוף מקום, thank you much, I said, and stay tuned, אני אגיד משהו, אני צריך משפט בסוף השיעור. כן. אין לי משפט בסוף השיעור. פעם הראשונה אני טוב. stay tuned. אתה רוצה להשאיר את הפלאפון? כן, אם אפשר להגיד stay tuned בסוף, זה היה טוב.
דובי, הכנתי לך מגש של אוכל.
יש כוח, עם אהרון לנדאו שעשה את זה פה.
לא משנה, בשולחן של הרבים גם יש לו כל פעמיים. אתה יודע, טוסטים, יש